Am I the asshole for telling my parents that I will only support them if they move back to their home country? My parents moved to North America from a developing country when I was 4. My siblings were 2 and 6 months. My dad worked hard to make a life for us and my mom worked hard making sure we didn't waste the opportunities they were providing for us. They also sent money home to help my grandparents, sometimes to the detriment of our family here. My sisters and are all married with families now. My parents are getting ready to retire and they want us to supply them the way they supported our grandparents. The problem is that we cannot afford to pay for everything here. Even with my parents' savings and my dad's pension, they cannot maintain the lifestyle they have while my dad works. However, with their money and ours combined, they can live like gods back home. We could sell their house, use that money to buy them a villa in a gated community. They could fly back to see us all the time. They could literally live in the top 1% there instead of scraping by here. The only problem is the grandkids. They want to see them all the time. They think that my sisters and I are exiling them. We are offering them a chance to have great lives in a country with no snow, where food costs are 1/4 to 1/6 those here, where the healthcare is actually rated higher than here. We are looking at the next 20 years. When everything is said and done, I offered them the exact same amount they sent their folks. It will buy their groceries every month and that's it. They think I'm being stingy and mean. If they worked all their life, they should have put aside enough to live once retired. This whole ordeal of needing to pay for your parents' retirement is bullshit. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. They should have invested all that money they sent back home to make sure they were secure in their future, and you should do the same with any money you give them. This whole cycle is why they need someone to fund their retirement in the first place. Definitely NTA. I try not to judge other cultures from a place of ignorance, but the idea of future generations supporting previous generations is basically a fucking Ponzi scheme. It's such a bad way to build a society. Your parents are being stubborn. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They didn't support your grandparents living in the States, they supported them living in your home country. You're being generous by offering to do the same. I will never be able to afford the retirement I want, either. Because my ideal retirement would mean a beautiful house in the Caribbean, a yacht to get drunk on, and a membership at the nicest golf course nearby. Probably ain't gonna happen, but I'm sure as hell not going to make that anyone else's problem. Your grandparents didn't have the luxury of being near you and your sisters during your childhood. Your parents did not pay to bring them here and support them here. Why should they expect any different? Not the asshole. Your priority is to the family you created. You decided how much you are willing to offer. It's their choice to decide how they want to live. I'm proud of you for setting a clear boundary. I hope your siblings do the same, but it's not your place to choose where or how your parents live. I wouldn't presume to tell my parents where to live in this situation. But if they want to stay in America, they have to do what most Americans do and work until 65 or older. Am I the asshole for shouting at my husband for locking me out of the house? This one is pretty simple. Most days I get home before my husband. He has a habit of putting his keys in the door when he gets in. Thing is, even if he gets home and realizes I'm not there, he doesn't bother to remove his keys, and even when unlocked, you still need to use the key to get the door open. So when I get home, I can't get the key in to open the door, leaving me stuck there waiting for him to come let me in. Today I didn't have to wait too long, but in the past there's been a few occasions where he's been in the middle of doing something, so I've been stood there with no way to get in until he finishes and can come open the door. I've told him enough times, if I'm not home, take his keys out of the door. Is that really too much to ask? So today it happened again, and I blew up at him. He started shouting back at me how he's only been home a few minutes, but I just told him, FK off, I can't be bothered with this. I'm regretting being so blunt with him now rather than trying to resolve the situation, especially with it being so trivial. But then again, I've already asked him enough times not to lock me out. So I leave it to you, Reddit audience. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. I am sorry, this is not that trivial. You could need to pee, be holding something heavy, etc. I'd say lock his ass out a few times, see how he likes it. But I would really suggest that you change the locks to a keypad or something so that this stops. Not the asshole. Because why does he leave his keys in the door? Seriously, why does he do that? What if there was an emergency? What if he collapsed and couldn't get to the door? There are so many variables to this, and what could happen? Is it some sort of power play? Is he just forgetful? Info. I'm confused about what kind of lock stops working when there's a key in the other side of the door. How does him leaving a key on the inside of the door prevent you from unlocking the door from the outside? Who leaves their keys just in the door anyhow? He needs to take the keys out of the door and put them in his pocket like a big boy. Not the asshole. Once is a accident, twice is happenstance, 3 times is enemy fire. He shouldn't need to be told more than once that he had locked his wife out. This is beyond weaponized incompetence at this point. Either he has a mental health or intelligence issue, or he just doesn't care if you're locked out, maybe even enjoying it at this point. This isn't something that becomes a habit easily. It takes intent and effort to ignore your spouse begging you to not do something this big. Wait, so he opens the door from the outside, removes his keys from the lock and then puts it back in from the inside? He's definitely doing it on purpose. If it was plain stupidity, the keys would be in the outside facing part of the lock and you'd be able to use it to get in. He's intentionally keeping you out for some reason. Am I the asshole for moving our second car away from the house after my wife refused to pay for it? My wife and I have always only had one car until recently. We have a toddler, so she's been mostly a SAH parent to save on childcare costs until preschool, just working a couple times a week here and there for spending money. She brings in around $1,000 a month doing this. I cover all the bills, and I've gotten a few raises and promotions over the past couple years, but not enough to handle 2 car payments. My wife has been wanting a car to get around while I'm at work, shopping, events for our kid during the day, etc. I did the math and told her we can only get a second car if she helps pay for some of it, otherwise I can't afford to pay for it on my own. We were already leasing a newer SUV at the time that she loved and I didn't really care for, so we agreed that she'd cover a $400 monthly payment and I'd cover insurance, gas, maintenance, etc. She was fine with the plan and agreed. I spent some weeks looking around, then went and bought a car I liked. Now we have 2 vehicles. I didn't have to pay for the first 60 days on the new car, so let my wife save up money while I continued paying for the SUV payments. 60 days later, wife tells me she only has $300 of the $400 and is upset that I expect her to pay for the car she agreed to pay for. I just have her send the $300, cover the difference, and remind her that I can't afford 2 cars, so it's important she budgets the money she earns properly. Keep in mind, she has no bills aside from like a credit card. The next week, she ran over something in the road and destroyed one of the tires, so I keep up my end and get the tire replaced and another tire patched for a couple $100. Next month rolls by and it comes time for the next payment. I remind my wife payment is coming due and she simply responds, I'm not paying it. At this point, it's become pretty clear that she had no intent to pay after she paid the $300 from the previous month, continuing to express that she shouldn't have to pay. I start talking to her about accountability, which she absolutely hated, and told her I'll have to take the car away because she didn't fulfill her end of the agreement, which she didn't dispute. When I got home, I cleaned the SUV out and took it away from the house to a safe location. When I got back home, my wife was livid. We are now back to one vehicle, which she has full access to when I'm not at work. She has not spoken to me since I took the car away, about a week, and refuses to drive the car we have. She has been calling Ubers or her friends, family to take her places. It really just seems like a big accountability problem to me. But I spoke with a couple family members about it and one believes I'm justified while the other believes I'm dead wrong. And so, I ask the people, am I the asshole? Info. Where did her $1,000 per mo go? You are living apart, financially, which doesn't make much sense for a marriage or for a family with children. The 2 of you need to work together. Something is going on here, and it's not clear what that is. But you need to act like a unit, instead of like roommates. And you definitely should stop acting like you're her dad. Info. Why can't your wife drop and pick you up from work so she can use the one vehicle while you're working? Imagine paying for Uber out of pettiness. It isn't cheap. Not the asshole your wife made an agreement and then has reneged on it and it comes across as she wasn't intending to contribute in the long run. You've made it clear that you can't afford 2 cars, so I'd either sit down with her and state she either pays the agreed amount or it gets sold. Sounds like wife didn't want to part with her spending money for a car. You probably didn't need to remove the car, just take the keys. The problem isn't money or transport, it's the fact that hostility has replaced mutual respect in your marriage. That's no environment to raise children. Get relationship counseling or a divorce, do it quickly before your offspring start normalizing your dysfunctional patterns. Not the asshole, she backed out of her part of the deal. She has $1,000 a month of her own spending money, where in the world is that going? If she wants a car, she has more than enough money to pay for one. She is acting like a spoiled brat. Am I the asshole for telling my dad I don't care if he's absent at my wedding? For some backstory. I, F24, have a rough relationship with my dad's, M43, wife, E, F41. They got together in 2006, married in 2011, and have had 2 children since then. E has never liked me. I was introduced to her when I was 7 and things were instantly sour. She was mean, snarky and had no interest in me whatsoever. Now, as an adult, I can tolerate her behavior, which has gotten significantly worse as I've grown up and began to talk back. The issue lies with the fact that my dad has always allowed it. I'm a grown woman and can handle myself now, as I've been doing for years, but when I was a child, he had nothing to say about her borderline abusive behavior and will find ways to change the subject, excuse it whenever it's brought up. This has significantly damaged our relationship, and we're low contact as of now. So, I'm getting married in November this year to J, I'm 25. We've been together for 11 years. E is insistent that she will be there. She will not. I have made this clear since we got engaged in November 2023. My dad is invited, but I made it plainly clear last year that she wasn't welcome as a result of her behavior, attitude, and treatment of the both of us. It's worth mentioning here that J also doesn't want E present as she is discriminatory. J is trans, FTM, and E will dead name him, make comments about it all, and is overall hateful. He is also defensive of me given that he has been with me for the majority of E's treatment. So, my dad met with me last week and told me that if he wasn't present at my wedding, he wouldn't be either. I honestly expected something like this to happen, so I said that it was fine. He was confused and asked me to elaborate, so I explained that he didn't have to attend, but it meant that I would never speak to him again, that I had dealt with him choosing E over me for almost 20 years and that my wedding, of his first and only daughter, being a subject of debate was the final straw. He said nothing for a moment afterwards and then got up and left. E has been blowing up my phone with explicit texts, but it's been radio silence from my dad since our chat. As I said, I've dealt with E's treatment and by extension, my dad's silence for almost 2 decades. My wedding feels like a good place to finally end this all, to start over. I don't see a way to fix this, or our relationship, as long as he's with E. Am I the asshole for telling my dad I don't care if he's present at my wedding? Edit. Just to say thank you so much for the responses. I didn't expect this at all. All of the advice, guidance, and kind words are amazing. I'm struggling to respond to everybody, but just know I'm reading every comment. Also, thank you for all the well wishes for the wedding. Thank you, truly. Red heart. Not the asshole. There's been no effort of apology or reconciliation. It's strange that he would even want to be at the wedding anyway. He gave you an ultimatum, you gave one back, and then the two of you left it at that with no contact since then. Seems you're actually in agreement here about your wedding, your specific question. No conflict to judge. Not the asshole. Kudos to you for clearly explaining your position. The ball is in your dad's court. He either lobs it back and attends the wedding without your stepmother, or he never sees you again. It is time to block E on all of your social media and your phone. Not the asshole. My wedding feels like a good place to finally end this all, to start over. Yeah, I agree that this is a perfect time to reset your priorities and life going forward. Personally, I think that parents that do nothing to stop blatant abuse are also abusive, unless specific circumstances are met, so he can kick rocks. Block them and be free. That's the thing with giving ultimatums. Don't be surprised if the choice isn't what you'd expected. Your dad thought he could win his wife a place at your wedding by this tactic. Epic failure on his part. Kind of wonder why he thought it would work, considering he never defended you from her wrath growing up. Enjoy your wedding, drama-free, surrounded by those who love and support you. Not the asshole. Neither your dad or E deserve to be present for your day. Have a wonderful wedding without them there. They made their beds, they can lay in them.